Hey everyone, today we're going to get a handle on something that's absolutely key to taking your French to the next level, making comparisons. We're going to break it all down step by step so you can start using it with total confidence.
I mean, just think about it for a second. How many times a day do you compare things in English? This coffee is better than yesterday's, or I'm as tired as you are, or he has less time than I do. It's constant, right? So how do we get that same skill over into French?
Now you might be thinking this is going to be super complicated, but I'm here to tell you it's actually way simpler than it looks. The whole system is really just built on a handful of words and one main pattern. So let's dive right in.
First things first, let's build our toolkit. To compare basically anything in French, you really only need to know 3 sort of magic words. These are the bedrock for everything we're going to talk about today.
So here they are. To say more than, you use plus. To say something is equal, as, you're going to use aussi. And to say less than, you use moins. Plus, aussi, moins. See? Simple, right? Now let's see how they actually fit into a sentence.
Okay, so this is it. This is the master formula for comparing qualities. You just grab one of those toolkit words, pop in an adjective like tall, interesting, fast, whatever, and then you finish it off with the word que. This simple little structure is pretty much our home base.
All right, that tiny little word que, it's so important. It's our than or our as. But here's a huge pro tip for you. When you're comparing people using pronouns, you can't say que je or que tu. You absolutely have to use what we call stress pronouns. Que moi, que toi, que lui. This is such a common mistake. So if you can lock this down right now, you'll be way ahead of the game.
Okay, let's put it all together and see what it looks like. On the left, Philippe is plus grand que moi. See? We've got plus, our adjective grand, and que moi. Perfect. And what's cool is how easily you can flip it. On the right, je suis moins grand que Philippe. I am less tall than Philippe. It's the exact same logic, just swapping in moins.
All right, so we've totally nailed comparing qualities like tall or fast. But what happens when you want to compare quantities, like books or money? This is where a key difference comes in, and it's where a lot of people get tripped up. But honestly, the rule is super simple once you see it.
And this table just lays it all out so clearly. Look, with adjectives on the left, it's exactly what we just learned. Plus, moins, aussi. But watch what happens when we switch to nouns on the right. For more and less, we just add de. Plus de, moins de. But for equality, as many or as much, aussi completely changes to autant. It becomes autant de. That right there, that's the one big thing you've got to remember. So for instance, when we're talking about equality, we stick to our original formula. Tu es aussi belle que cette fleur. You are as beautiful as this flower. Beauty is a quality, an adjective, so we use aussi. Easy.
But the second we switch over to comparing a quantity of something, we have to use our new rule. Il a plus de livres que moi. He has more books than me. And hey, notice that key detail. It's just plus de livres. You don't need an article like day in there.
Let's just pause on this for a second. Because if there's one thing you take away from this whole section, let it be this. When you are comparing equal amounts of things, nouns, you have to switch from aussi to autant de. To say, I have as many books as you, it has to be j'ai autant de livres que toi. Every time. All right, so we've covered quantities and qualities. The last piece of the puzzle is comparing the actions themselves. How do you say that someone works more, or sleeps less, or eats as much as somebody else? Let's check out how the pattern changes just a little bit.
And you know what? The great news is, this is actually even easier. The adjective or the noun just disappears completely. Your comparison word comes right after the verb. And notice, for as much, we're using autant, again, not aussi.
And look at how clean and simple this is. Vous travaillez plus que moi. You work more than me. Vous travaillez moins que moi. You work less than me. Vous travaillez autant que moi. You work as much as me. The pattern is just perfectly consistent and straightforward.
And here's a little bonus tip that will make you sound that much more like a native speaker. When plus is used like this, at the end of a phrase to modify a verb, you actually pronounce the S. So it's not plus, it's plus. Vous travaillez plus que moi. It's a small detail, but it makes a huge difference in how you sound.
All right, you've got the fundamentals down cold. It's time to level up. Let's look at the one major exception you really need to know, and then we'll see how to turn all of these comparisons into superlatives. You know, the best, the fastest, the most interesting.
So just like in English, we would never say more good, we always say better, French does the exact same thing. You never, ever, ever say plus bon. The correct word is always meilleur. This wine is better, ce vin est meilleur. This is a non-negotiable rule, folks.
And now, the grand finale, superlatives. And this is so much easier than you think. You already know how to make the comparative part, like plus grand for taller. Well, to make it the tallest, you just stick the right definite article, le, la, or less, right in front of it. That's literally it.
And this table it wraps it all up perfectly. Meilleur, which is better, becomes le meilleur, the best. Plus grand, taller, becomes le plus grand, the tallest. And it even works for nouns. Plus de livres, more books, becomes le plus de livres, the most books. It's the same simple, beautiful logic. Everywhere.
And there you have it. We went from those 3 basic toolkit words to handling adjectives, nouns, and verbs, all the way to making things the best or the most. You now have the complete system, all the building blocks you need to make any comparison you want in French. So the only thing left to do is actually use it, right? Is today's weather better than yesterday's? Do you have more work than your friend does? Does your favorite team play as well as theirs? Now you can say it all. Go for it.